Hello spooky friends, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be doing a spooky middle grade book haul. So I have been collecting spooky middle grade books for the past few months. Just to say for this haul, we are currently celebrating Bookathon this month. That is my spooky middle grade readathon that I'm hosting with my friends Gwen from Gwendolyn Kinsinger and Gabby from Gabbing About Books. If you're curious about that readathon, I will go ahead and link the announcement video in the description box down below. But I thought this would just be a good time to kind of bring out all of my spooky middle grade books that I've been collecting and do a little bit of a haul for you. I do have a ton of books to go through, so I'm going to try to go as quickly as possible. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. The first book that I have is Ravenfall by Kalyn Josephson. You may recognize Kalyn's name because she is the author of the Stormcrow duology. That is a YA fantasy series that she's done, and this is her, I believe, first middle grade book. I'm very excited about this one. It says, 13-year-old Annabella Malinenko has never been normal, even by her psychic family standards. Every generation uses their abilities to help run the Ravenfall Inn, a sprawling magical B&B at the crossroads of the human world and the other world. But it's hard to contribute when your only power is foreseeing death. So when 14-year-old Colin Pierce arrives at Ravenfall searching for his missing older brother and the supernatural creature who killed their parents, Anna jumps at the chance to help. But the mysteries tied to Colin go much deeper than either of them expects. This book sounds so good. There is Celtic or Celtic mythology mixed in as well, and it sounds like a little bit of a spooky fantasy novel, so I'm really excited for this one. Also, this cover is absolutely stunning. I love the artwork on it so much, and it is one of my most highly anticipated spooky middle grade books of the year. Next up, I have Disappearing House by Malinenko. Malinenko wrote Ghost Girl, which I read last year and loved so much, so I was thrilled to see that she was coming out with a new book. This story follows our main character Jack, and Jack is counting down the days to her 5-year cancer diagnosis and is really hoping that she is declared NED, or no evidence of disease. Around this same time, there is a spooky house that appears at the end of the street, and Jack and one of her friends are dared to go inside. There's definitely some creepy stuff going on. You can tell that from the cover because there is a really spooky. That's the word we're looking for. There's a really spooky, shadowy figure up in the corner there, but this is one that I'm definitely looking forward to. I know it's going to have some hard-hitting elements about trauma, but it sounds like it's going to be a really good one. Next, I have Tales to Keep You Up at Night by Dan Poblocki. This book really reminds me of things like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark because this is a compilation of short stories. But in this story, you have our main character, her name is Amelia, and she has found this book in her attic. She decides to take it to the public library to see if it belonged to them, but they say they have never seen this book before, so she decides to keep it and starts reading these scary stories. However, it seems like some of these scary stories may be coming to life. Next, I have The Haunting of Aveline Jones by Phil Hickes. This is actually our buddy read or group read for Bookathon this year, and I've seen so many people talk about this one and rave about it, so I'm really excited to start it. I believe it's going to be a trilogy, and it says, Aveline loves reading ghost stories, so a dreary half-term becomes much more exciting when she discovers a spooky old book. Not only are the stories spine-tingling, but it belonged to a girl called Primrose Pemberthy, who vanished mysteriously, never to be seen again. Intrigued, Aveline decides to investigate Primrose's disappearance, with some help from her new friend Harold. Now someone or something is stirring, and it's looking for Aveline. Then I have Spirit Hunters by Ellen O. This book has been around for quite some time, and my interest hasn't really been piqued just yet, but it definitely has now. This is the first book in a spooky series, and it says Harper Rain doesn't like her new house from the moment she steps inside. It makes her skin crawl and her hair stand on end. There's an energy to the house that just doesn't feel right. There are rumors that the Rain family's new house is haunted. Unexplainable events and tragedies seem to have befallen every family who's ever lived there. Harper isn't sure she believes those rumors until her younger brother Michael starts acting strangely. The whole atmosphere gives Harper a sense of deja vu, but she can't remember why. Harper knows that the memories she's blocking will help make sense of her brother's behavior and the strange and dangerous sensations she feels in this house. But will she be able to put the pieces together in time? This has lots of elements that I'm really excited about with memory and haunted houses, so I'm really excited to get to this one this fall. Then I have The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is a classic. Ray Bradbury is a classic author, and this follows the sinister carapace clavicle Moundshroud as he takes 8 trick-or-treaters on an unforgettable journey to find their missing friend Pip. Travel through space and time from the tombs of ancient Egypt to the gargoyles of Notre Dame Cathedral, all the way to the cemeteries of Mexico on El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Is Pip still alive? And if so, can his friends save him before it's too late? I've heard mixed reviews on this one, but I'm really excited to read it. There are also some illustrations thrown here and there throughout. And my friend Gwen actually read this book, and she wasn't a huge fan of it, but she is so kindly going to send me pictures from her edition of this book because they're in color. So I'm really excited to read this one soon. Next, I have Bunnicula. This is a graphic novel adaptation of the story by Deborah and James Howe, and this is illustrated by Stephen Gilpin. I'm really excited to read this one because Bunnicula is a story that I grew up with and one that I love. I still own the book and have reread it a couple of times since. And there's also a Boomerang cartoon of this story, and I love it so much. I'm glad that they made this into a graphic novel. This is basically following a cat named Chester, a dog named Harold, and a bunny who we call Bunnicula. Chester the cat is convinced that their new pet bunny is actually a vampire, and this is just that story of them exploring that and trying to figure out if he really is one. Then I have Ghost Squad by Claribel A. Ortega. I have seen this around Bookstagram for so long, and I am just now finally getting it. I love how the back of this book says, "Be prepared, respect the dead, always have a cat." This just looks like it is going to be such a cute story, and it follows our main character, Lucely. And for Lucely, ghosts are more than just the family business. Shortly before Halloween, Lucely and her best friend Sid cast a spell that accidentally awakens malicious spirits, wreaking havoc throughout their hometown of St. Augustine, Florida. Together, they must join forces with Sid's witch grandmother, Babette, and her tubby tabby, Chunk, to fight the haunting head-on and reverse the curse to save the town and Lucely's firefly spirits before it's too late. Another thing that I think is really cool is this says that this has the family dynamics of Coco and the action-packed adventure of Ghostbusters. So this is sure to be a great fall read. Next I have Up to No Ghoul by Cullen, Bunn, and Kat Farris. I read The Ghoul Next Door last year and absolutely loved it. It is a graphic novel, and this is also a graphic novel that follows along. Oh, wow. I feel like that's probably spoilery. I'm not going to show that one. Here we go. This follows along with the same story. So it follows our main character, Gray, and he becomes friends with the ghoul next door. It is a really sweet and very creepy story of friendship, and one that I'm sure most everyone will love. If you have not picked up The Ghoul Next Door, I highly recommend it. If you have and you didn't realize there was a sequel, now you know. Next, I have Garlic and the Witch by Bree Paulsen. This is also a sequel to Garlic and the Vampire, which is a really sweet, cozy, quick story that you can read. It is a graphic novel, and it is about this little character named Garlic, and Garlic is very anxious and very timid, and honestly a lot like me. So I really relate with the character of Garlic, but in the first book, she is exploring a potential vampire situation. All of her friends decide that she has to go because she is Garlic, and vampires and garlic don't mix. So she's going to explore that in the first book. And in this book, she is starting to feel like she's turning human. So she talks to Witch Agnes, who is the witch who brought all of these vegetables in the garden that Garlic lives in alive. Then I have another spooky middle grade graphic novel, and that is The Sleepover by Michael Regina. I read this book last year and absolutely fell in love with this story. It definitely gives you like 80s or 90s vibes with some of the technology here. It also has a little bit of Stranger Things vibes, but this follows our main character, Matthew, and Matthew's nanny, Ruby, has just passed away, and he is not dealing with it very well. So his friends decide to come over and have a sleepover with him to try to help him feel better. But while they're there, this new nanny shows up to take care of them, and they are convinced that she is a monster. Like I said, this is a very creepy book and one that could be very nostalgic for you as well. It is one of my favorite spooky middle grade graphic novels, so if you haven't picked it up yet, I highly recommend it. Next, I have The Smashed Man of Dread End by J.W. Ocker. Last year or earlier this year, I saw that he had a book coming out called The Black Slide, and I had not read his backlist yet, so I wanted to pick up The Smashed Man of Dread End. So this says, "No, Wiley's not like other kids. She couldn't be more excited to move. The new house has a yard that looks just big enough for a dog. Now her dad will have no excuse not to let her adopt one. Plus, after the slumber party sleepwalking incident of last year, she's ready to make some new friends. But No doesn't expect these sullen, strange girls on her new street. They seem to want nothing to do with No, but they do have one warning for her: to stay out of the basement no matter what. No's not going to let these girls boss her around. She'll go into her own basement whenever she wants. So she does, and there he is, and now there's no going back. Next, we have The Circus of Stolen Dreams by Lorelei Savaryn. I read The Edge of In-Between by this author earlier this year and fell in love with her storytelling. The one that I read before was a spookier Secret Garden retelling, and this one is like a spooky circus that is very deceiving. It says, after Andrea's brother Francis disappeared, her world turned upside down. So when she discovers a magical dream world called Reverie in the woods near home, Andrea jumps at the chance to escape her pain and go inside. But the cost of admission is high. Andrea must give up a memory in order to enter, and she knows exactly which memory she'll choose. Once inside, Andrea discovers tent after tent of dreams come alive. She can fly on a gust of wind, brave swashbuckling pirates, and search for buried treasure, reach for and wish on a tangible star, and much, much more. But Andrea soon realizes that not all of Reverie's dreams are meant to delight, and the Sandman controlling the circus tent seems to have plans of his own. When Andrea finds a tent in which her brother's darkest nightmare has been brought to life, she realizes the ominous truth. Reverie is not an escape, it's a trap. I'm very excited to read more from this author. This sounds like a spooky and great time, so I'm really hoping to get to this one soon. Next, I have Scary Stories for Young Foxes by Mcakay Heidicker. This is like a compilation of scary stories, but it is told from these foxes, I believe. I love how the synopsis is written on the back, so I'm going to go ahead and read that to you as well. It says, the haunted season has arrived in the Antler Wood. No fox kit is safe. 7 little foxes in the twisted Antler Wood, listening to stories much later than they should. The first flees the teacher with dark, gooey eyes. The second from 6 sisters whose tongue tells lies. The third escapes a woman who peels foxes' skins. The fourth slinks away from the Golgothersh's grin. The fifth wets the ground when he smells Mr. Scratch. The sixth turns tail when the paw finds its match. The 7th little fox in the wood all alone, facing down a ghost beneath branches of bone. One little fox stays the whole night through, but can she make it to the end? Better yet, can you? Y'all, that just makes me, I love rhymes. I don't know if y'all know that about me, but I love rhymey stories. This is just going to be such a good time. I don't know if I'll get to it this year, but for every one, there's I think for every part, there is a little illustration that goes with the story. So I cannot wait to get to this one. Next, we have The Jumbies by Tracey Baptiste. This has been on my list for a very long time, and I never realized how short it was. So I think this is the first book in a trilogy. I don't know if it's longer than a trilogy or not, but I think there's just 3 books. And this says, behind her, the bushes rustled. She turned just in time to see something move in the shadows. Surely it was only an animal, but what if it was another kind of thing entirely? I think this is supposed to be like a boogeyman story, and it follows our main character, Corinne, and she isn't afraid of anything. She thinks that parents just tell these stories to make kids scared and to make them listen, but she is going to find out pretty quickly that the boogeyman, or the Jumbie, is actually real. Then I have Whispering Pines by Heidi Lang and Katie Bartkowski, or Bartkowski. This book has been on my radar for quite a while, but it wasn't until Kendall from Bookforia read this one that I really decided to be more interested in it, I guess. It is the first book in a trilogy, and it says, strange is normal in a town like this. I love this cover because there's a creepy ghost hand on this kid's shoulder, and then his eye is going out, and on the back it says, play it safe and leave the woods alone. We love a good pun. I'm going to read a little bit of the inside of this one as well, just to kind of refresh my memory. It says, Ray's father vanished without a trace, and Ray knows what happened to him. But no one believes her when she says that her father didn't run off, that he was actually taken. Now, a year of therapy later, Ray's mother decides they need a fresh start, so they move to a new town in the hope that life can return to normal. The problem is, there's nothing normal about the town of Whispering Pines. No one knows this better than Caden. He's lived in Whispering Pines his entire life, and he's seen more than his fair share of weird, starting with his own family, as the town is the perfect home base for his mother's ghost hunting business. When several kids go missing and then show up like zombies with their eyes removed, many locals brush it off. But Caden has a dark secret, one that may explain why someone is stealing eyes, and Ray, who knows how it feels to not be believed, may just be the person Caden needs to help him put things right. Next, I have The Plentiful Darkness by Heather Kastner. This book kind of got on my radar after someone compared it to another spooky middle grade book that I liked, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. But I know this is a more spooky fantasy novel, and it follows our main character, whose name is Rooney. Rooney draws moonlight from the evening sky with her lunar mirror, and she's also trying to avoid this dark magician that is causing people to disappear. One day, this boy steals her mirror, and it is really important to her to get it back, even if that means falling into the plentiful darkness. This is a place where I believe there's just sky and stars, and it's very dark. I don't know a lot about this story. I kind of want to go in blind, but like I said, it was compared to another spooky middle grade book that I like that I can't for the life of me remember, but that is definitely why I wanted to pick this one up, because if any book is compared to spooky middle grade books that I already like, I definitely have to have them. Then I have The Hidden Seek by Nate Cernacek. This is like a spooky game of hide and seek. It says, you hid, but you were not found. You thought you were playing a harmless game. You were wrong. So I don't really know a lot about this one except that, but it is definitely enough to pique my interest. Next up, I have The Legend of Skeleton Man, which is a 2-book collection by Joseph Bruchak. This is Skeleton Man and The Return of Skeleton Man, both compiled together in this one book. This is kind of like a classic, ooh, look at this. This is kind of like a classic middle grade tale. I'm not really sure how old these stories are, but this follows a girl named Molly, and Molly's father grew up on the Mohawk Reserve of Aquasansi. Sorry, I can't pronounce that, but this is going to be like kind of a Native American tale, and her father always told this story about the Skeleton Man, but her parents has now mysteriously vanished, and these spooky tales are starting to feel a little bit too real for her. Next, I have Shadow School, De-Haunting by J.A. White. I read the first Shadow School book, Archimancy, earlier this year and really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It follows a girl whose name I've already forgotten. It is Cordelia Liu, and she goes to this new school named Shadow School, and she makes some new friends, but she starts noticing there are ghosts in the school, and she is one of few people that can see these ghosts, and she's trying to figure out why they seem to be trapped here. So this is the second book in the trilogy, and I will be really excited to get to this one as soon as I can. Next up, I have The List of Unspeakable Fears by J. Casper Kramer. This story follows a girl who is scared of everything, but the one thing she fears most is now that her mother has remarried and her mother have to move away with her stepfather to this place where her stepfather is running a quarantine for incurable sickness, but she is not so sure that her stepfather is up to anything good. She starts having these weird dreams about red doors, and then she starts to see them in real life. So that's really all I know about the story. I don't know very much at all, but it definitely has piqued my interest. Then I have Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch by Julie Abe. This is a book I have seen around so much. So many people have hauled it, but I actually haven't heard a lot of people read it and talk about it. So maybe I'll get to it soon. Actually, realistically, I probably won't get to most of these until next Halloween, but this is a story that I think is kind of reminding people of Kiki's Delivery Service, and that's why they're picking it up. But it follows a witch named Eva Evergreen. She is wanting to earn the rank of novice witch before her 13th birthday. If she doesn't, she'll lose her magic forever. For most young witches and wizards, it's a simple test. The only problem? Eva only has a pinch of magic. She summons heads of cabbage instead of flowers and gets a sunburn instead of calling down rain. And to add insult to injury, whenever she overuses her magic, she falls asleep. When she lands in the tranquil coastal town of Oteri, the residents expect a powerful witch, not a semi-magical girl. So Eva comes up with a plan: set up a magical repair shop to help Oteri and prove she's worthy. She may have more blood than magic in her veins, but her semi-magical fixes repair the lives of the townspeople in ways they never could have imagined. But will Eva's bit of magic be enough when the biggest magical storm in history threatens the town that she's grown to love? This is the first book in a series, and does it not just sound like the perfect cozy autumnal read? I think this is going to be such a cute one. Another witchy book that I've recently hauled is 13 Witches. This is book 1. This was called The Memory Thief, and it's by Jody Lynn Anderson. This one says, 12-year-old Rosie Oak's mom is missing whatever it is that makes mothers love their daughters. All her life, Rosie has known this and turned to stories for comfort. Then, on the night Rosie decides to throw her stories away forever, an invisible ally helps her discover The Witch Hunter's Guide to the Universe, a book that claims all the evil in the world stems from 13 witches who are unseen, but also unstoppable. One of these witches, the Memory Thief, holds an insidious power to steal our most precious treasures, our memories. And it is this witch who has cursed Rosie's mother. In her quest to save her mom, and with her wild, loyal friend Germ by her side, Rosie will find the layers hidden under the reality she only thought she knew, where ghosts linger as shades of the past, where clouds witness the world and a ladder dangles from the moon leading to something bigger and more. Here, words are weapons against the darkness, and witch hunters are those brave enough to wield their imaginations in the face of the unthinkable. At the core of this stunning novel, the first of the 13 Witches trilogy, is a passionate argument that stories have the power to create meaningful change and a reason to hope, even when the world feels crushing. And the last book that I have to haul today is Hoodoo by Ronald L. Smith. This story follows a boy whose name I believe is Hoodoo. Yeah, and his family practice folk magic, or what some people call hoodoo. But the problem is Hoodoo can't even seem to cast a simple spell. Then one day, this stranger comes into their town and he is looking for a boy named Hoodoo. He is casting a lot of black magic spells and the town is being threatened by him, and the only person that is there to stop him is going to be Hoodoo, but Hoodoo has got to figure out how to conjure first. All right, y'all, that is all of the books in my haul. There was a ton of books today, so hopefully you got through this. If you enjoyed hearing about all of these spooky middle grade books, be sure to leave me a little ghost emoji down below. You guys know I love my spooky middle grade books, so hopefully you found some new ones today. I also think it would be cool if you would like to drop your favorite spooky middle grade book in the comments below. And as always, I appreciate you guys so much. I love you all, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.